live here with Pre-K to Mastery on a beautiful Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. We are happy to have us here. What Pre-K to Mastery is all about, as I talk about Kelly Duncan-Smith, Tracy Gagne, and Hank Bertodatto, we are looking to take agents from their entry-level understanding of real estate and wealth and take them to a master's level of real estate and wealth. And they'll walk out of here, they will just have hundreds running out of their pockets. It's absolutely going to be fantastic. Today's topic is going to be open houses. And thankfully, we have an expert on open houses on our panel. Kelly Duncan-Smith is going to take us out here in our first entry into the open house phase. It's the setup part. So Kelly, if you wouldn't mind, just run us through a few minutes of what you do to set up for an open house and why it's so successful.
Okay, so one of the things that we start with is we put signs on every street corner, usually 2 days before running in, with the times and the dates. So in other words, if we start, say the open house is on Crystal Drive, I should be able to get at least 7 or 8 signs pointing in for 2 days going out to that open house, saying Sunday 11 to 12:30 with arrows. So the thing is, the signs I'll say, the Kelly sales team. So it looks, even if I have one listing, it looks like we have so many listings because repetition, you keep seeing the name over and over and over. Another thing that we do is before the open houses, we door knock everybody in the neighborhood. And if we can get the homeowner's permission, we actually have a pizza party. And we invite all of the neighbors to the pizza party, have them come to the open house. I've actually sold a few houses that way where they come to see their neighbor's house. We invite them for pizza. It's everybody has a get together. And as we're doing the door knocking and we are inviting them for pizza, we also ask them what they like best about the neighborhood. Why, what's their favorite parts of the community, what events they might hold in the neighborhood. So then when we're there, you have a bunch of people that have come that are talking about the neighborhood and how much they like it. So when prospects come through. So that's been a very productive way to bring people to open houses. There's another thing that we do is when they do come to the open house, we make sure that everybody signs in for security reasons first, but also to have everybody there. So we have everybody sign in on a tablet. There's a bunch of different formats that you can go to, like openhouse.com or this and that, and it'll ask them a series of 9 questions if they're working with somebody. So it covers agency, that type of thing, and it'll go through all of those things. And then the most important thing is anybody that's not attached. Oh, also, we don't ask, are you working with a realtor? We ask, do you have a signed buyer's agreement with a real estate agent? Because if you just say, are you working with a realtor? They say, yep, because they don't want to be bothered. They don't want you following up. They don't want you calling them. So they go, yeah. And that's that. So if you say, do you have a signed buyer's agent with a real estate agent and who it is, can you write that down? They're a lot less likely because they don't know what we know behind the scenes. So they're a lot less likely if they're not committed to an agent to be honest. And then the follow-up, as soon as we're done, as soon as the open house is finished, I send everything to my admin, and then what she does is she sends up a thank you for attending our open house. That card goes in the mail by the end of the day. So by Tuesday morning or Tuesday when they get home from work, they have a thank you card. And then we do the follow-up calls, the emails, anything else, but not to the point of annoyance. We'll do a thank you so much. Hey, I happened to notice another house that was similar to the one that you came to. Wanted to show it to you, wanted to expose it to you.
All right, so that's a great setup. And we went into a few things that we're going to kind of rehash along the way in terms of the follow-up, which is very key. It's 100% of what everything we're doing in real estate, right, is the follow-up. But I think if we can just add to what the setup is, it dovetails into the marketing. And we happen to have Tracy Gagne, who handles a lot of the marketing for her open houses. And Tracy, if you would, just give us a little bit of detail about what you do to strategically market your open houses.
Well, when having the open house is just the part of it, right? The biggest part of it is what our job is to actually market the property to get people there, right? So we have a team that is actually putting out, we have 29 social media sites that we host our open houses on. We put a video on, we give the description of the property, throw some pictures up, and we actually also create an invitation on our social media sites. And then we actually send it out to everybody who's searching in that area in our CRM, which is our contact management service. So we really do make every effort to drive people to those open houses. And we've been finding that the social media networks have been one of the greatest resources of getting people there. We get a lot of people who are unattached, and that's very helpful for our buyer's agents, right? Because a lot of the times you're going to have an open house, and you know, our open houses are fairly busy. We've had our slowest, sometimes nobody shows up, and it's just that's a product of pricing. That's a product of the condition of the property. But our properties that are priced to sell and they're in good condition, we can have upwards of 40 people there. So we get them there by doing the work on the back end to drive them there, to create the excitement of the open house, on top of putting the signs out, and on top of the MLS, which a lot of agents just rely on their MLS to get, or the other sites to get people there. But we really go the extra effort to make sure that our buyers agents are there and their time is used wisely. And that's working with the unattached buyers as well.
Wonderful. That's great advice. And both you and Kelly have this setup and marketing covered for us. You know, we talk about the performance during an open house, and Kelly touched a little bit about the permission she asked of the owners, or the, you know, and kind of the door knocks. And Kelly, if I go back to you a little bit about during the open house, what a real estate agent should be handling, you know, during that process to make sure that they do their system of checks and balances and make it a successful open house. So the performance is very key once we're in the middle of the open house. So if you could just expand on that, that'd be great.
Well, one of the things, I mean, it just makes people feel a little bit more comfortable. Like I always have bottled waters, we have cookies, have them come in and you just discuss with them. When they come in, you just welcome to the open house. If you are working with an agent and have a signed buyer's agreement, please sign in for, or we said, please sign in for me. If you're working with an agent and have a buyer's agreement signed with them, please write their name down as well. We have them go through, or we have them go through a tablet of, like, again, it's like, I think there's openhouse.com. There's a whole bunch of different ones where it asks a series of questions. And then I hand them a printout and I say, I'm giving you gratis to please wander around the house. My name is Kelly. If you have any questions, I'll be here waiting for you when you're done. Because you want to allow people to actually look at the house. There's nothing worse than an agent that's following people around and they're trying to look at the house and they're going, and this is the kitchen. How long have you been looking for houses? Where are you looking? You know, leave it alone. You know, it's
we have this in blue. Yeah, I hear you.
Do not do that. You know,
Building
let them
rapport.
look.
Yeah,
And
building
then
rapport is the main thing.
What?
Building the rapport. And that's what
Exactly.
we teach our agents, how to build rapport and not sell properties. Because you have to build the rapport to gain their trust.
Absolutely.
Very
And
cool.
then just say, come back to me when you're done, and they come back, and then you can have a nice conversation, chat with them and stuff. And you know, you've built a rapport, as Tracy's saying. Instead of if you're standing there, everybody can smell commission breath a mile away. Don't do that.
Hey, hold on.
What we teach our agents is the Ford technique. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. You bring up those topics and you start breaking down their walls, and then that commission breath goes away because you're showing true interest in them. Because you're building a relationship. You're going to be with them for some time. You want to make sure, A, you get along, and B, that they're going to trust you because they know that you have a vested interest in what their lives look like.
Right.
Very cool. Yeah, you know, that's a great point. And you know, we're kind of at a point here where we've gotten through a little bit of once they're in the performance about, you know, kind of having the answers to their questions without having to sort of follow them around and certainly be pushy or give off the scent of, as aptly put, commission breath, which was excellent. One of the things that we all know as real estate agents, and anything to attain, you know, any level of success or wealth, you have to be able to follow up with people. You have to be able to, you know, do it in such a way that it's tactful, that you build rapport, as Tracy said. And, you know, I'd like to go to my colleague, Hank Bertodatto, a little bit. He teaches this in his classes, just to give, follow-up is so key, Hank. And so when you're in an open house, what have you seen as far as a successful way to follow up with people once they've left and left their information?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Thank you again, everyone, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And, follow-up is definitely key. And for this, before I move on though, Tracy, what you said about Ford, for everyone listening and people that are going to be watching this on a recording, can you go through what that Ford is again? I mean, I know what it is, but it sounds great coming from you. So go ahead and do that again for everyone out there.
Of course, one of the best ways to build rapport is to understand people. So we use the Ford technique. You talk about their family. You ask them about your family. So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Tell me a little bit about your family. Are you here because it's a 3-bedroom and you have children? Maybe that's not the best example, but I haven't done an open house in quite some time. I work on the back end getting people there. Alan can speak to that much better than I can. But then you'll talk about their occupations, and then you can talk about what they like to do for recreation. And then you talk about their dreams, like, is this going to be your forever home? And that really does help. It helps build the rapport. It helps them bring their walls down, but it also makes you more comfortable. It makes you more comfortable with them because now you're having a conversation and you're not trying to sell yourself or anything else. You're in a learning mode at that point. So it helps everybody just kind of bring the tension down, take some of the pressure off, and actually have an organic conversation about themselves. And then you progress naturally from there.
Essentially, Hank, before you go, that's like a commission breath mint right there. That is a very nice way of putting it, Tracy. Well done. I think everybody's breath is now calibrated. They can approach people. Hank, would you please tell us a little bit about your follow-up process? That would be fantastic. But thank you, Tracy. That was wonderful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That building rapport, like what Tracy said, is great. And the follow-up process actually becomes easier if you have that rapport established. So I want to echo something that Kelly said earlier that is absolutely huge. And one thing that she said was, as soon as they come in the door, agents, I see this mistake all the time. They bombard them. Hey, you working with a realtor? And their immediate answer is yes, just to get you off of them, whether they are or not. And then what does the agent do? Oh, they kind of, put down their head and they like walk away and they're like, just go see the house and talk to that realtor if you want to make an offer. They just totally disengage from that potential customer or client that they're in front of. And I just see this mistake all the time. And what I do, and it sounds like exactly what Kelly does, is when they come in, I greet them, I say, welcome, I give them a quick stat sheet, and I'm basically, hey, go ahead, look around. If you want a self-guided tour, I'd love to give it to you, but you listen, you do what you have to do here, and I'll be here to answer any questions. So I don't follow them around like a puppy dog, like, hey, I need this deal, I need this closing. No, we don't do that. And then I start asking the questions like the Ford. So I love that. I do the same thing, but I just never put a name to it, Tracy. So I love that. But for me, I can build rapport extremely quick. And doing that, again, finding out their likes or dislikes, what they're trying to find in a home. Are they new? Especially in Florida, where are you from? Because I guarantee you most people are not from Florida. Okay, we're a huge melting pot. So, but again, to go back to the follow-up, this really allows me to have a better follow-up with them, because then when I follow up with them, I'm like, hey, by the way, your Maryland Terrapins, they're doing okay this year. We're playing them coming up this weekend, or whatever kind of rapport we talked, or hey, I hope your kids, Jimmy and Johnny, are doing great. If you have any questions about this home, I'd love to help you. And I also use an app, and the app is called Open Home Pro. And I don't know if any of you have been using this app, but write it down and look it up. So Open Home Pro, it's free on a tablet. So either a Android tablet or a iPhone or iPad. I can't even speak this morning. iPad or an Android tablet. And basically it's cool because when they walk in, they're not forced to sign in on a piece of paper. Folks, it's 2018. Let's get away from this piece of paper. Let's get in there. Let's get a nice looking Open Home Pro iPad up there that has a picture of the home, has of the front of the home, pictures that they can slide through. They click to enter in their information. And here's the great thing about Open Home Pro. As soon as it's done, you can actually send a message to everyone that attended right there and then. So, we closed the open house at 4 o'clock. Spend 15 minutes till 4:15. Don't rush home. Spend 15 minutes, do your follow-up, and then, go on with your day. But those 15 minutes after that open house are crucial, folks. the faster you follow up, the more attentive these people, our potential customers and clients, will actually take you. And that's huge, folks. So I would definitely make sure that the follow-up is fast as you can do it. Okay. Try and put in whatever you talked about. So that rapport, so that it makes it easier to have that future conversation and allows them to start connecting with you and trusting you.
Wonderful, Hank. That is a tremendous.
Kev, I would like to add something too with
Kelly
what
would like to add, please do.
So one of the things that I always do when, and it was something that Hank was saying that stimulated it, I take notes. So as soon as they leave, I write down children's names were Joshua and Mariah. They mentioned the dog Sadie. They're going to be car shopping once they get into the house. Whatever little tidbits, so that when I call them back, because if you meet 20 couples at the open house, you're not going to remember all those little details. So you want to write all those details down. And then one other thing that I wanted to mention is when you do those open houses and you invite the neighbors, you also want to follow up with the neighbors. A lot of people will send thank you notes. I actually like to go to the door with a little box of chocolates that say, it was really sweet of you to show up, or a little candle, or, you lit up the open house. And then you ask, wow, you saw how busy the open house was. We have we sold that one, but we now have another, 6, 7 buyers that are looking in your neighborhood. Can you do me a favor and keep your ear to the door, keep your ear to the ground, and see anybody else that talks in your neighborhood about selling? Can you give me a call? That's this. Now you've got people, you've got soldiers out working for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really an extra special touch. And, one of the things I would compliment the panel, Hank, Tracy, and Kelly, it comes genuinely from they're willing to give. They want to give their time. They're willing to help. It comes across. It's a natural thing for them in the open house process, because even if they are represented by another person, they still want that experience to be better, because you know what? In real estate, that reputation goes a lot further than the buy and sell of a transaction. Everybody's going to be able to remember, I love that, the candle. Hey, you lit this open house up. That is fantastic. So we've got a lot of things that we've taken away so far. One of the things that we want to do is preserve the open house and the safety of it. And, that's one of the things that is an ongoing concern with the advent of social media, and just not sure who is coming and going in these things. We really want to make sure that your open house is safe. It's an open forum for people to come in and feel like they can wander through the house and not have to look over their shoulder. That includes the realtor hosting the open house. So creating a safe environment takes a little skill. I'd like to lead off with Kelly. Just give us a few minutes here on what you think safety means to this open house process.
A lot of the open houses, especially if we have isolated open houses, we have 2 agents go. It gives a comfort level to the homeowners too, because then they feel like their house is more protected. So we'll have 2 agents that will go. One will stay at stay downstairs, and one might be upstairs or out in the back. There's a power in numbers, no matter what anybody thinks. If I was a bad guy, I would go after the easiest target. The easiest target isn't when there's more than one person there.
Very nice. And you know what? I would just switch to Tracy to see if there's anything on safety she'd like to add, because I know even though you guys are in neighboring towns, you're hosting your own open houses. Is there anything, Tracy, that you've come across with your team and yourself that you feel like is a great way to preserve that open house with safety?
Yeah, I've had personal experience myself where I was extremely uncomfortable, and the guy actually ended up running out the door and down the street, and he didn't have a car anywhere in sight. So I think that my intuition for that one was spot on. He tried to get me into the basement. I refused to go. So what you have to do is you have to be diligent, and you have to know your exit strategy. You have to position yourself in an area where you can exit quickly if you need to. And, if one of his strategies was, he was telling me that the boiler was leaking in the basement. I was just in that basement. I knew that boiler was not leaking. And he kept trying to get me down there. And I just stood by the back door, and I had my fingers on 911, and I was ready to call if he came up those stairs. So having an exit strategy, discovering your exit strategy when you get into the house while you're setting up. You need to know where the doors are. You need to know the windows are. You need to know how you're going to get out of that house if you need to get out of that house, and keep your distance from people. You know, there's personal space. Do not let them get within that personal space, because if they can reach you, they can grab you, and you might not have a chance at that point. So, you know, female real estate agents have to be very diligent in their safety and taking care of themselves, especially if they're by themselves at these open houses, because things happen. There's been, women have been murdered. There's been people that are missing. And we just have to be diligent, because we're inviting people that we do not know to come into our space.
That is great tips. And, you know, I know we're going to touch on safety in the Q&A, so I'm just going to give our panelists, our esteemed panelists, a chance. We've gone over the do's, right? In setup, in marketing, the performance once they're in, how you handle things. We've gone over, I love it, commission breath. We've gone over the follow-up. We've gone over safety. We've gone over the do's. Let's go over a few don'ts that people commonly, you know, just naturally fall into, and they realize that's why it's not a successful open house. Hank, I'd like you to start off with the don'ts that you've found over your years with open houses and why they're not successful when you hear it from other agents.
Oh man, there's a lot.
Let's try to keep it 2 minutes. Give me a couple top threes.
Agents not putting on all the lights. That's a very big one. Strange smells in the home is another big one that I notice. And just kind of the unprofessional attire, you know, that they may be wearing, or how they're kind of carrying themselves at the open house, almost like the I don't care or I have to be here kind of mentality, instead of like being excited about it. Those are just kind of some quick don'ts.
Okay, Kelly, I know you do wonderful do's, right? It's wonderful. What are some of the don'ts that you've experienced that you just immediately tell other agents when you're coaching them?
Okay, my favorite is the agent that sits in the car and smokes a cigarette.
I was gonna say that.
Don't bother me. I'm in the middle of this my time.
And I actually went into an open house once, and the agent was sleeping on the couch. So don't fall asleep.
That's fantastic don'ts.
And those are the things I've actually run into, where the agent is sitting in the car, or sitting in the car smoking a cigarette, or sleeping at the open house. One of the things I always have in the back of my car, I have a flashlight, I have Febreze, I have like odor eater candles, I have paper towels with a Windex. I have spare light bulbs. The list goes on. I have my open house kit in the back of my car, which, so no matter, like, I also have WD-40. So if I go and you're opening the front door and it goes, WD-40. I mean, those are all the little things that when you get to a house and you're like, oh my God, is all I can smell is, you know, Susie, their dog. Oh no. I run to my car. I've got my candles. It gets to get there. Get to the open house 15 minutes early, because you don't know what you're walking into, guys. It's really important. If the open house starts at 1, you don't pull in at 12:59 on 2 wheels. You get there at 12:45, you go through that house. You look through that house as if you were a buyer, and you look, would I buy this house? And you notice, okay, you know, the parents were all great. Everything's done. Well, the teenager went back up in his underwear around the floor, and his bed's up. Those are the things that you have to go through. And as a real estate agent, it's your responsibility to kick those underwear underneath the bed and make that bed quick.
That is a tremendous set of don'ts, and it's punctuated by the undergarments that must be preserved during the safety and process. Tracy, if we've covered the don'ts, I would just like to say we'd like to go to Q&A. I think what is wonderful, this is the second pre-K to mastery. We went over, and we're going to have these, certainly on Facebook. We're going to have these on a YouTube channel. We've covered 4 different states today. We've got quite a bit more attendance. It's building in its second week, which is exciting for all of us. It tells you these topics matter to real estate agents. They want to learn. They want it to continue to be successful and share and teach. It's a living, breathing thing. And we're going to go to Q&A right now, but this topic is going to be the topic of discussion into next week's format. And we love your feedback. You guys are going to have the open format to be able to come back to us and say, hey, here's what I want to discuss. Here's some things that we want to go over. It's participation. It's two ways. It's not just us giving you commission breath and talking at you and making sure that you're wearing underwear, mind you. It's more about this is a collective. So we want to make sure you guys have this be fun and interactive as you learn. So with that, if we're okay, I'm going to go to questions. And I would say, I know somebody wanted to talk a little bit about safety because I saw it in the chat, and I'm going to go to Sandy Tharp, if I can, unmute and say, Sandy, we talked about safety, and you had a specific thing that you guys are working on as an initiative. Sandy's here in Florida with us. Could you just spend a quick 30 to 60 seconds about what you're doing in terms of preserving safety at open houses and just in general for real estate agents?
Yes, absolutely. And I have to ask, I've got to ask because we've got a couple of guys here. Do you guys ever feel unsafe?
Sure. There's no doubt that everybody has to have certain awareness. It's easier for a guy to feel a little bit safer, but I can tell you safely, and not to, no pun intended, we're always taking a few extra steps because we just don't know anymore. You know, there's just a lot of open formats to get to, you know, somebody can get into where you are in your personal space. So go ahead.
Okay.
Actually, can I cut in there for a second, Sandy? That's a great point. And I will tell you that I didn't, my own personal safety wasn't a threat, but I did have an open house to where I had 3 large gentlemen come in, and I believe they were casing the joint. They were seriously casing the home to see what was in there, and then, you know, come back at a later time. And I truly believe that there's people out there that'll find out, hey, is it vacant? Are they snowbirds? Especially, you know, very prevalent in Florida. So my security, I don't believe has ever been threatened, at least not to my awareness. But I have had people that, you know, were odd and shouldn't have been there, out of place, casing the place, so on and so forth. So be diligent of all those situations.
And I'm sorry, but I'm going to interject too before Sandy, because what Hank just said is a huge point. It is when they say to you, and why are they moving? You just simply say, they're relocating. Because it is not the buyer's business. They might be looking for information. Oh, well, they spend 8 months of the year in Florida, and so now they want to go. You just said this house is vacant 8 months of the year.
Absolutely.
So it is not the buyer's business. So you be very cognizant of what comes out of your mouth when you are talking about why are they moving. You just look at them and say, yeah, they're relocating. And another thing they always ask is, are they flexible on the price? And I just look and go, yeah, they told me that they would be definitely entertaining any overpriced offers.
Now that's safe. That is safe. You know, I appreciate that. In the interest of our format here, I'm going to let Sandy, that is great, info. And guys, and everybody, be aware of your surroundings. So Sandy, if you could just touch on that a little bit for 60 seconds, that'd be great.
Absolutely. The big thing is when you go into the house, the first big thing is make sure you do have the exit strategy. Make sure you have a door open that you can run to. You could also try a window. The door is going to be obviously easier to get out of. And for me, I found that I was running into situations at a lot of open houses. I was very surprised. And so that is why I have joined this company called Damsel in Defense. But basically the idea is to make sure that I'm going to teach situational awareness, as well as I will have things like stun guns and weapons, not weapons of mass destruction, but self-defense weapons, because it's very important that if somebody steps up to us, especially as women, that we have something to defend ourselves with. So I'll be sending more information on that, but I think it's really important, and I don't think the community has addressed it. So that's why I'm doing that.
Sandy, that's a huge help, and that's going to continue to be a focus for everybody, because safety is obviously one of the main topics that everybody should be focused on when they're doing open houses, and just be aware of their surroundings. Okay, so that kind of covers a little bit. Do we have any other questions from our esteemed group of participants today? If not, I'm going to allow for closing remarks from everybody here. We've got 90 seconds for closing remarks, so I'm going to just say thank you for participating. Our panel is fantastic, world class. I appreciate all of you as my partners. business without borders is what we're all about, and certainly discussions without borders. So that's what the beauty of this is in a multi-state, multi-participant format. Hank, do you have a few things you'd like to close with?
Well, actually, we're next Wednesday. We're doing open houses again, kind of elaboration. Is that correct?
We are going to keep that as a topic unless there is no strong opinion from the crowd, if you will, for pre-K to mastery. Yes.
No, I got a whole list of stuff to bring next week, so I'm gonna keep it for next week. So I'm gonna zip it. The only thing I will say is when we put this in recording, I will put a link for Open Home Pro, the technology I was talking about, and I will also ask Sandy to send me her link, or when we post the video, please post your link for the Damsels in Defense. That's something my wife Gina is gonna get involved with. I've already talked to her about it a little bit, and she's excited about that. So we will have those in the recording for everyone.
Thank you.
Perfect. Tracy and Kelly, you lit up this broadcast. Would anybody like to have a closing remark there from Western Mass?
Kel, I'm just super excited that we get to do this together. I mean, I think that this is such a fun format and I'm having such a good time with it. And to be able to be on here with you guys has just been, it's been a great experience, and I'm really looking forward to what's to come.
Very cool. And Kelly, what would it be without a closing remark from Miss Kelly Duncan-Smith?
I just want to say to you guys, it's really important. I just had an experience this week where I was calling on a listing that had expired, and the kid's name was Adam, and he said, "You are the 5th realtor to call me today, ready for the objections." And he said, "No, you don't understand. I don't own this home." And so he said, how do I make this stop? And so I said, well, we got your information from whitepages.com. And when I went back and looked, I actually called him back. I said, whitepages.com is who you'd call to have that fixed and get the right phone number. And when he called White Pages, he said, it's just a cluster. I can't find out anything. So I went back and looked at it, and the actual address, the public records, the registry of deeds had recorded it incorrectly. And I helped him through the entire process of fixing it. And it's really important, guys, to remember that we are here to help and serve. And the last thing that he said to me last night is, "You're the only realtor." I kept asking, like, how do I make this stop? Because I'm at work and I can get in trouble and my phone's ringing. And he said, how do I make this stop? And he goes, the other realtors, once I wasn't providing business for them, they had no interest for me. And I know this isn't on open houses, but this is who we are as real estate agents, guys. The way that we react to people and take care of people, we are here to serve, and don't forget that. That's all I want.
That is a great way to punctuate what this is all about. That is the definition of helping out one another. And so we appreciate that, Kelly, and kudos to you for doing that. It's something the three of us have learned to expect, which we appreciate, but it's heartwarming to hear. So with that, I'm going to close this down. We appreciate everybody. My panelists, Tracy, Kelly Duncan-Smith, Hank Bertodatto. It is a pleasure to always work with you. This is Pre-K to Mastery Without Borders. We want you guys to have some fun with this. We'll see you next Wednesday. So goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.